Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg and I'm here today to do a Friday Reads video where I wrap up the week in reading. And I'm filming this one on a Wednesday. So that's a little bit different. Also, my reading life is a bit of a mess right now. So this is going to be an interesting one. But my life is doing great. It's been a very fun week. Teddy is asleep on the floor behind me. There he is, just having a good time, hanging out in the office with me. And I'm going to move the camera up here for a second because one of the fun things involves this banner right here. So, what have I been up to in my life before we get to the mess of the bookish situation? Saturday was Pride in Missoula. That was a lot of fun. We had a blast. A lot of people show up to the Pride in Missoula. We also go to the one in Helena, which is usually they move it a little bit later in the summer to avoid competing and also to sort of make it like a Pride summer, stretch out the fun a little bit. So we will be going to that one when it happens. And I look forward to it every year. Missoula Pride. It was great. A lot of people turned up, which was really great to see. It felt like the biggest crowd we've had at this Pride before. Let me just plug in my laptop. And it was a lot of fun. We met an interesting person who just saw Teddy and wanted to say hello to him. And we struck up a conversation. She's a New York Times best-selling author. And you're going to have to wait until July because Joel has already read one of her books and I'm going to. So that was an interesting twist. And yeah, it was just a great Pride. So that really kicked off the last few days in a good way. And then I just didn't get a lot of reading done because we were, not only did we do Pride, then we came back home and we babysat our neighbor's dog for a little bit. So there just wasn't a whole lot of reading time, but that's fine. And then on Monday, Doris from Aldi Books came to visit. And that was a lot of fun. I had never met someone else from BookTube in person before. And by the end of this week, I should have another one. So it's, like I said, my life is going great. My reading life, not good. No slander on Heidi because her channel is called My Reading Life. And no, she's doing great. I'm doing bad. But anyway, it was just so much fun. So Doris, I'll have a link to her channel down below. She is one of my favorite channels. I love following along. She does a lot of vlogs and she's currently living in China and teaching. So she comes back to the United States over the summer and she and her son are doing a thing. They want to get to all of the states and they hadn't been to Montana. And I live close to the Idaho border. So by coming here, we could also go to Idaho. So it was just so nice of her to drop by on her trip, and we had so much fun. We got to hang out. She got to peruse my library. We did a competition to see who could get to a certain amount of books that they had read first, and it was a lot of fun. I won't say who won, but I will say I had an unfair advantage because I have curated all of these. But yeah, we went to dinner Monday and Tuesday, got to hang out with her crew and Joel and me and Teddy. And it was just a really fun time. She gave me a t-shirt that says Frog and Toad. I'm not wearing it right now because I wore it yesterday and it is now in the laundry. I'm hoping to take it with us on our trip. That's another thing that's going to be coming up. So you will see that you will see that t-shirt in a video that I have recorded. So this is the last piece of the puzzle. When I film this, I will have content for while I am gone. And I'm planning that I won't have a Friday Reads next week, but I do have a video that I'm going to slot into that place. So you will be getting a video. It probably won't be a Friday Reads because I'm just anticipating that there won't be time to film. But I will have content while I am gone. This is the last piece of the puzzle again. Anyway, so I had gotten her a book and she brought me this banner, which is hand-painted batik and it's really gorgeous. We were going to hang it out in the house. And then all of a sudden it occurred to me that would be really fun right there. And it provides a little extra color in the backdrop for my videos and gives me something nice to see while I am working at my desk, which is right here. So yeah, it's been a really fun week. I am feeling very jealous because today on her way to her the next leg of her adventure, Doris stopped in Helena and got to go to Montana Book Company, and it was really just sad that I couldn't go along to enjoy the trip, because I always love an excuse to go to Montana Book Company. But since I am going to be out of town beginning tomorrow as I film this, I'll already be out of town by the time you see this. I couldn't take another day off. So I didn't get to go to Montana Book Company, but she did. And just totally by chance, Joel had to go to Helena for his job. So he got to meet them at Montana Book Company. And I have FOMO. But it was just a lot of fun. And with all that going on, you can imagine that I did not get a lot of reading done. That is why my reading life just disaster, just total disaster. I'm kicking a box that's on the floor. So basically, had we left off in our last Friday reads? Let me refer back. So I had finished This Book is Gay, which I read in print, Sleeping Children, which I listened to on audio. So I had like a blank slate and I was ready for something new. Well, the day after, like Saturday, the day my last Friday Reads video posted, was Pride. So I didn't get to pick up anything else. And then Sunday, we're kind of running around having fun. Took Teddy for a big long walk. So I didn't get to pick up another book. I did read on Sunday. Let's see how many pages I managed to read. I read 16 pages of A Boy's Own Story by Edmund White. So, I didn't get very far. I didn't even get far enough for me to consider this as a book that I am currently reading. So, what I realized yesterday was that there's no way I would be able to finish this book before we leave. And I am not taking a book on the trip with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read an ebook, which I'll talk about in a moment, on the plane on the way out. And then, because obviously we're going to go to bookstores while we're there, I need a t-shirt from the Strand, and Book Culture is there. And when we visit my sister in Connecticut, I'm sure there's a bookstore near her that I might just have to drop in on. So if I start collecting books, I'm going to do what I did when Joel and I went to Ireland and Scotland. I'm not bringing a book over with me, but I'll start reading the books that I pick up along the way. So that's the plan. And since I'm not taking a book with me, I just had to put this down. And I will get back to it because this was one of the books I had really wanted to get done in the month of June. I didn't really have a theme for my Pride Month reading, but I did have 3 authors and I wanted to check off as many of them as possible. As it stands right now, I have only checked off 1, and that is Colm Tóibín. And since Edmund White passed away this month, it felt like it would be a really good time to get to him because he's an author I really need to and would like to read. And this is the book that I have sort of designated as a starting point for myself. That was the holdup with Colm Tóibín as well. I wanted to do the Blackwater Lightship first, and now that I have done that, I can move on to other books that he wrote, and the same is now going to be true of Edmund White. So basically, this is an autobiographical novel. It was published in 1982, and it is about a young boy growing up in the 1950s and realizing that he is gay, and it's about that process and how alienated you might feel growing up at a time when being gay is not really an option in society. So it's one that I really want to catch up to. There are 2 other books that are sequels to it. It forms a trilogy, and I have heard mixed things about the second and the third book, but I have a copy of the second one. So I may very well go on, but a lot of that depends on how much I like A Boy's Own Story when I do get around to actually finishing it. The first 17 pages they got to be a little scandalous. Not gonna lie. Pretty scandalous, especially for a book that was published in 1982. So that's wild. But yeah, did manage to start this. I did not get far enough to consider it something that I am currently reading, because I usually don't consider something a book that I'm currently reading unless I get 50 pages in. Or if I'm listening to an audio, unless I get 15% of the way into the audio. So this is what I spent time on, but as soon as I realized that I wasn't going to be able to finish it, I just figured I will wait and pick it back up. I may even just start at the beginning, since I'm only 17 pages in, when we get back in July. And pausing for a moment before talking about what I decided to do today in the audio that I have started but not really gotten in. So, as I said, Joel and I are going to be going to New York. Teddy's going to be staying with his grandparents, and we will be back after the 4th of July. As I said, I have stuff filmed, and I just need to start uploading it once I'm done with this. And so you will have content while I'm gone, but we will have to wait until we get home to film our best books of the year so far. Because we both just don't really like to do it until 6 months of the year are officially over. So at the end of June, we can film our best books of the year and have a full 6 months to go off of. And we debated if we wanted to film it in advance and jump the gun a little bit. But Joel was reading a book that he was really excited about, and I thought I was going to be done with A Boy's Own Story. Didn't end up happening. So we decided to hold off. So we will be doing that, but we will have to film it when we get home after July 4th. So stay tuned. It will be coming. Okay. So on yesterday, I finally decided what my next audiobook was going to be, because I had some time while I was working and while Doris was off on an adventure. And I decided that my next audio would be something that had been on my Pride Month pile of possibilities. It's Mutual Interest by Olivia Wolfgang Smith. And I am not far enough into the audio to consider it as something that I'm reading, because again, my reading life is a mess. Just disaster. I have nothing to show for anything to do with reading this week. 17 pages of one book and 10% of an audio. So it's not great, but I am really falling under the spell of Mutual Interest. It is a very captivating book. I am really enjoying the tone, the style, the voice, and since I am only 10% in, I'm going to pull up the description of the book on Bookshop so I can tell you. It is described as an enthralling, dishy novel about ambition, sexuality, and the rise of capitalist empire in post-Gilded Age New York. Sorry, the rise of a capitalist empire in post-Gilded Age New York. So in the first 10% of the audio, we meet Vivian L'Esperance, and she leaves her parents and goes to New York. She has a very unsatisfactory relationship with her parents. So she goes to New York, and she's a quick study. She realizes what people want to hear and kind of gets access to enough moneyed things that she can get herself going and sort of insert herself into polite society in New York, despite the fact that she doesn't actually have these elite connections herself, but she just knows how to play the game and how to play it well. And at the point where I'm at, she has met Oscar Schmidt, who, as it describes here, she meets Oscar Schmidt, a queer middle manager at a soap company. Vivian finds a partner she can guide to build the life she wants, not least because Oscar will leave Vivian to tend to her own will leave Vivian to tend to her own romance with women. So she has had lesbian affairs as she is trying to climb the ladder. Now she has met Oscar Schmidt, and it has sort of taken a step back to introduce you to Oscar and tell you his story. So I believe there's another woman we're going to meet at some point soon, and it's going to be like, I believe there's a marriage to provide a front to society, and yeah, it just, the way it is written is so clever. It is like someone telling you a story. So the narrator is aware that they are telling a story to you, and they talk to you directly. It's not that just that they're narrating what's happening. They're talking to you and involving you. And sometimes there will be a character, it's happened twice now, that there's a character specifically that Vivian will sort of use for a time in her climb up the ladder. And when she sort of leaves them behind, the book will let you know, and this is where we leave this person. Here's what they're going to do in the future. And the way it's done is so clever and just amusing. I'm having so much fun with it. Because I had to film a video this morning and at work, and I'm filming a video now, I have not had a chance to get any further into the audio today, which again is Wednesday. I'm filming this 2 days earlier than I usually would. But I am really under the spell of this book and having a great time with it. So I can't wait to get further into Mutual Interest by Olivia Wolfgang Smith. It is a book that had been recommended by Lindsay Lynch earlier this year. Lindsay Lynch, who is the author of the book Do Tell, which I would also highly recommend because that's a great book. One of my, I can't remember if it was a favorite or it was definitely a book that I included in books that I hope more people discover last year. So check out Do Tell. I'll link it down below with the information about all of the others. So today last night actually, I was looking at my pile of possibilities for Pride Month and just generally trying to get a sense of how I did. And I saw The Man with Night Sweats by Tom Gunn on my pile of possibilities for Pride Month. And this is a tiny little thing. It's a collection of poetry. It is 87 pages. So I thought to myself, that's something I can read before we leave. Pick it up and finish it. So I read the first 2 poems last night before bed, and in a weird thing of timing, coincidence, I guess, it actually features in a video that I filmed ahead so I got to include it in the video that I filmed this morning. And it's funny how time sometimes works like that. So this is a collection of poetry. Tom Gunn is he is a gay man, and he had been a poet, but when the AIDS epidemic starts to happen, he loses some friends and deals with the fear of that it might happen to him as well. And these poems are about caring for other people, watching other people die, and that fear. And what I will say, I'm halfway through. I'm on page 61, so I'm more than halfway through. And the first 2 sections of the book were good, but so my traditional struggle with poetry is that I tend to feel insecure about it. I feel like I don't quite get it. It's not exactly how my brain works. So I felt like, well, this is good. I'm positive I'm not understanding all of the stuff going on in this book. So there was that. Now, and it's going to be interesting to see if this continues, over the last 10 or 15 pages, maybe 10, more like 10 pages, it has started moving more solidly into the sort of specter of death. And the poignancy level went from kind of like here to woo up here. So it'll be interesting to see how it finishes, because at the point where I was before the last 10 pages, I was thinking, well, this is good. I am just a little confounded, and I'm sure I'm not getting everything that's going on here. And that has lessened over the last 10 pages, so we'll see what happens over the next 20 pages before I finish it. So I will be done with this before we leave, but I'm not done with it now. I just had to film this video. So again, I have nothing to officially show you for what I have been up to this week, because I haven't been up to anything in terms of reading. But as I said, it was a lot of fun going to Pride. and celebrating. The weather got nice the next day. It didn't actually rain during Pride, which was nice because last year it poured during Pride. And I'm glad it was fun because, and not to get sentimental, but this was the first Pride that we went to without our friend Leone, who passed away at the end of last year. So she actually didn't go to Pride last year because it was pouring rain and she just opted out. So it's not that it was our first without her, but it's our first officially without her. Like last year, she just chose not to go because it was a downpour, which of course means that Missoula Pride 2023 ended up being our last Pride with her, and we had no idea that it was going to be the last. So, but it ended up being a lot of fun alongside the Melancholy. There's also a new romance bookstore in Missoula, and we got to visit them. So that was a lot of fun. And then Doris's visit, just, chef's kiss. And really was the highlight of the week so far. So, yeah, that's pretty much what has been going on. Oh, great. That was a firework. I don't know if you could hear it. It's approaching. So basically, where I live, I actually live outside of Missoula. And in Missoula city limits, you can't shoot off fireworks, but because I'm outside of city limits, people just go nuts over here. And they usually start doing it 2 weeks before the 4th of July and continue doing it 2 weeks after the 4th of July. And they go off during the day. They go off all night, sometimes at 1 or 2. So I am not a fan of the 4th of July anymore, especially since our previous dog, Jamie, was terrified of fireworks. So it's going to be a little bit nice. So Teddy will be with his grandfather in Helena. Joel and I will be in New York. So it will be kind of nice to take a year off from all of the firework noise. That's going to be fun. And it will be really fun to see my sisters. I have 2 nephews that I haven't met. And I haven't seen my nieces in 2 years because it's been 2 years since I got back to New York to visit. And one of them is 16 and the other one is 9. I don't know where the time is going. So it's been a fun week with visits, and it will continue to be a fun week with visits. So that's what I'm going to be up to. That's what I have been up to. I'm sorry I don't have much to report in the way of reading, but I'm glad that I have fun things to report anyway. So that's what my reading week has been. The good, the bad, and all of that. And I've had a good week. I'm in a good spirits and all that. So, while I would have liked to do more reading, I'm doing okay. Teddy ran off to see what's going on after that firework noise. So I am going to end this here and say that I will look forward to catching up with you when I get back. If we have time, or I feel awkward filming in like a bookstore, but if we are able to do maybe we'll do some like shorts or some things like that while we're gone. You'll probably get a lot more updates on Instagram if you follow me there. The link is always in the description box. So just, FYI, if there's time and ability, we might share some updates while we're gone here. You're more likely to get them on Instagram. It's the way it is. So, as I said, we'll leave it there, and I look forward to catching up with everyone and letting you all know how it went when we get home. And as always, I really appreciate your time. I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.